I'm just going to do a couple housekeeping notes for those of you who don't know me. My name is Katie Auney. I'm the Chief Development Officer and Assistant Dean for External Relations for Merrill College of Journalism. I'm just going to do a couple housekeeping notes here before we get started. We are going to be recording the program this evening, so you are aware of that. We encourage you to keep your video cameras on. We like this to have sort of a friendly feel to it, as if we're all in a room together. And we're going to start this evening. I'm going to play a short video, and then sort of the first half of the program will be hearing from one of your fellow donors, Rick Davis, as well as some of our students. And then the second half of the program will be an update from Dean Dalglish. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And hopefully this works to play this video for you.
I was looking at the quality of education for how much I was getting, and Maryland is one of these top institutions.
When I came to visit for the Maryland Day and I learned more about the journalism program, I was really interested.
When I came to Merrill, I knew I wanted to do journalism.
I really wanted to go to a city school because I knew I wanted to study journalism. 100%, I knew that's what I wanted to study.
Realizing how much tuition really was, I started looking at schools that would offer me scholarships.
I applied for scholarships from Merrill, and that really helped me out.
Being able to do things and pursue things because you want to and because this is what you want to do for your future without having to worry about, can I afford to do this? Is this what I need right now? Is always empowering.
When I did get certain scholarship money, it was really justifying that I was on the right path.
The scholarships help to lower and reduce the amount of student debt that I will be leaving the school with, which is very important because paying student debt can be very challenging.
To have that extra money going towards my tuition bill just makes me feel a lot better, as I have to work multiple jobs to pay my rent and loan payments.
It gave me the opportunity to not worry about debt early on.
The money has definitely helped. It's gone towards tuition and books, and that alleviated some of the burden that I had to bear.
And I think in college, like, any amount of money helps, even if it's like $500 or $1,000 or $25,000.
However much money you get from a scholarship, whether it's $1,000, a couple $1,000s, a couple $100, it really helps your thinking and searching for other opportunities where you're like, I can take this extra time and not get paid because I have that extra padding.
So far, the experience has been exactly what I wanted.
To the donors, I would definitely say thank you for your contributions. It means so much to us students. It means so much that you see something in not only us, but in this program.
Thank you so much for believing in me and donating this money to better my future.
Thank you for the support and empowerment to pursue my education and degree at the University of Maryland.
And you're pushing us who are here right now to do the same thing after we graduate.
All right. With that, I will turn things over to Dean Dalglish.
Hi, thanks everybody. Thank you, Katie. And I hope, Katie, give me a thumbs up. Is my audio okay? All right, great. Welcome everyone. It's so wonderful to see you. And one of the strange and wonderful things about COVID is it has allowed us to reach out to so many more of our alumni and supporters than ever before, from the comfort of your own home. So don't want to do just this exclusively, but it does help us reach out to you in new ways. I want to start out by sharing with you, if you didn't already hear, that our longtime Assistant Dean and Director of Development, one of Katie's predecessors, Frank Quine, died over the weekend unexpectedly. And some of you remember a few years ago when we needed an interim development director, Frank came out of retirement to help us out for about 6 months. I've known him for more than 20 years because when I ran the reporters committee, he would show up at the barbecue every single year with his wife, Mary Ellen. Frank was a joy to be around. And I can't believe the outpouring of love that we've gotten over the last couple of days. As we get more information about possible memorial opportunities, we'll be communicating with you to let you know. And to our students who never got to meet Frank, I'm so sorry. You would have just loved him like the rest of us. Thank you to all of you for being here. Obviously, we're going to be talking a lot about scholarships tonight. But you know, probably 7 years ago, I was talking to alumni and we had this daunting task of trying to raise our designated $10 million as part of the university's Fearless Ideas capital campaign. And I am pleased to let you know that as of last week, the university has met its $1.5 billion goal, and Merrill College exceeded its goal by 40%. So we raised $14 million, thanks to you and our dedicated staff, Katie and Olivia, and before her, Lily LeVay, and our faculty and supporters. We're very, very blessed that we were able to meet that goal, and it means a lot for our future. As you heard in the video, your contributions directly impact our students and their experience on campus, and we are incredibly grateful. And Katie, tell me, do we have, there he is. Here comes Rick Davis. I am just in time going to, Rick, if you can turn on your microphone and your audio, that would, or your video, that would be awesome. There he is. Rick Davis is one of our distinguished alums who you may have read in our newsletter last year when he retired from CNN, where he and Dave Ottolini were among the first employees at CNN. The company gave us a $300 million scholarship. And
300,000.
300,000.
They liked me, but they didn't like me that much.
Okay, yeah. A million, a billion, what's 100,000? $300,000. And Rick and his wife, Linda, contributed another $50,000 to that. But Rick and his family have been scholarship supporters for a long time now. And every time we've had a scholarship drive, they have contributed. And Rick is now one of our representatives on the College Park Foundation Board of Trustees. And we thought maybe Rick would like to talk tonight about his 2 endowed scholarships for journalism students and the CNN Award. And Rick, do you mind sharing for just a few minutes about why you do this and what it means to you?
Sure, that's easy, Lucy. You know, I have Maryland pride. I do. I have it because I went there and got my master's there, and it helped me get my foot in the door in TV news. My daughter went to Maryland and met her husband there. So it's a family affair. And then I got to know Merrill more than I ever knew before, because I wasn't a journalism major, and my master's at the time was in television, radio, television, film, because way back when they had the print guys on the men and women on the journalism school, and TV was in TAWS, and it was a separate school. But I got to see the building. I got to meet the staff. I got to meet the students. And most of all, I got to meet the host of this meeting and see what a great leader she is. And I knew that I wanted to be a part of this organization and the school and help where I could. And I have the great fortune to be able to give back, because I've had over 40 years in the news business, and I've had great colleagues, and I've had great bosses, and I've been very lucky, and I've seen a lot, and I wanted to give back. And I wanted to give back in areas where I could help young students, particularly students in need. particularly diverse students, which is my target need. And then I found out that once I started this, I could have a connection with the students with mentorship. As much as they wanted to take, I would give. And I'd spend time with them if they were a recipient of our good fortune. And that just, paid me back in spades. And so whether it's the TERP Promise, and then the Clark Scholarship is just, 2 for 1. That was just, for my money, then it was doubled, so I could help even more. And there's still, from what I understand, $25 million left in the Clark Scholarship. So any monies that are given that qualify for a Clark Scholarship get matched by the the Clark Scholarship. And it's just been, I think helpful for the students, helpful for the school, and quite frankly, very helpful for me, a great benefit for me. And I want to continue to be involved. And I thank Lucy for her nomination for me to be on the college board of trustees, which I met with all of them this weekend when we met for our meeting, our fall meeting. And I also want to help, as I have for internships and special events that come up when we find out that students need a little extra money to go on a special trip to Chicago like they did one time. And quite frankly, the main reason I keep giving is the students keep excelling. And if you just read, the report that got mailed to all of us this week, my God, it's just, terrific results, terrific students, great journalism, and hopefully great journalists in the future, some at CNN and wherever they might go.
Thanks, Rick. You're one of the donors that you have the ability that every time I see you, you go out of your way to try to meet with students. And most of the time you've been able to meet your recipients. Just one last question. When you talk to your students, what surprises you, if anything, about the difference between students when you and I were going to college and today's students? Is there anything that stands out for you?
Well, I think most of all, back then, I think it was really kind of focused on, I either want to work in a newspaper, a magazine, or a TV station. And right now, I think because we all know that there are fewer jobs at some of the mainstream news organizations, there is a breadth of opportunities in so many other areas that weren't even available to students back then because of the increase in, the changes in technology that provide so many other news sources out there that might have 6 or 8 or 10 people. But because of the amplification that people can have when something is really excellent and can get magnified by other people saying, take a look at this, you can be a big fish in a small pond and really make a splash. Or you can be a small fish in a big pond and learn from all the veterans and that are at that news organization. It's still one thing that's really still the same is those questions about where should I go? Should I go to a big place or a little place? Do more where I go to a smaller place, but maybe learn more and be a sponge at a big news organization. But I would say most of all, particularly because these students are all excellent at what they write and what they produce. They never, I'm just kind of, there's Maryland pride when I read that brochure you sent out about everything that's being done. And I think that there's just more of an opportunity for journalism students to get noticed these days than they could when they were, when things weren't, when we didn't have the digital age and the internet to immediately showcase what smart students and passionate students were doing at universities.
Thanks, Rick. we're going to give everybody the opportunity to meet 3 of our scholarship students. It struck me that most of the time when I do these briefings, I do all the talking and we talk about our wonderful students, but we don't always provide an opportunity for you to meet any of them. So tonight we have 3 of them. And let me just briefly introduce them to you. First, we have Erin Harper, who grew up in Washington, D.C. She was a reporter for her high school newspaper, The Beacon. And at the University of Maryland, she has worked for the Black Explosion as a copy editor, and she's written for student publications such as MISPA and Stories Beneath the Shell. And so far, what I think she's the most excited about was last year she interned at Frontline, PBS's Frontline, for an investigative series and some long form projects. I think it was called Unresolved. Nod your head, Erin. Was that what it was called? Yeah. We have Winter Hawk, who is one of the Davis Scholarship recipients. Winter, I can't believe it's gone by so fast. You're already a junior. You're from Frederick, and you are a Clark Scholarship winner. And one of the things that's always impressed me about you is that you focus so much on writing, and you want to show people, you want to cover stories and write about things showing empathy and care for people in need. And whenever you speak, that's something that really comes out. Sarah El-Beshbishi, I knew about. Actually, people started writing to me about Sarah when she was about a junior in high school, saying, you gotta get this kid. I think you went to high school in Montgomery County, if I remember right. And you've spent the last 15 months interning at USA Today, where you reported for Politics Now and the Congress team. And one of the things I remember was during the vice presidential debate, you helped Susan Page prepare to moderate that debate. Over the last year, I've talked a number of times about what it was like to deal with online education. And I was wondering if you guys would just briefly like to talk about, how did you get through the online learning experience? Erin, do you want to start?
Yeah, I would love to. So for me, it was really tough transitioning from being in person and being online. But one of the things that I really had to learn was how to be self-reliant and hold myself accountable, especially when it came to classwork, because I didn't have that opportunity to speak to the teacher in person and ask them about this assignment, or meet up with my classmates after school and go to the library and review some of the subjects. So that was something that I really found I also appreciated as well. And I'm looking forward to taking that with me, not only through the rest of my academic career, but also in my future career as well.
Thanks. Sarah, how about you?
Like Erin, I mean, it was a really hard transition, but just figuring out how to stay engaged while being online, because you didn't get that same experience while being in the classroom. But I think professors were really up to the challenge, which helped. Just kind of knowing that we were all in it together, figuring it out, and kind of working through ways to make it kind of different and engaging in whatever capacity we could, kind of helped in that way.
Yeah. Winter, how about you?
Kind of going off what Erin said, the independence aspect was huge for me. I had to learn a lot about myself, and that included my limits, and burnout last year was very real. So I had to be okay with not achieving everything on my to-do list that day, and still having confidence that I would get it done, and then rewarding myself when I got it done, and really transferring those practices over to even in person and just when I graduate life in general.
Yeah. One thing we noticed within the first couple of weeks of class is, like, you guys hadn't seen each other for a year and a half, and you kind of went crazy. A lot of our students just came back and joined everything and kind of got overwhelmed. It's like you want to see everyone, go to every event, every speaker, join every club. And I think some of you learned a lot about, overextending yourselves a little bit. But what was it like to come back to campus? Erin?
For me, it was surreal. I left my second semester freshman year and then came back my first semester junior year. So that transition was something that I had been looking forward to for the past 18 months, especially because Merrill classes are so heavily focused on being interactive and doing a lot of hands-on journalism activities. And you can't really get that same experience when you're online. So coming back in person and then actually getting to meet some of my peers and work with them after seeing them on little Zoom screens for a couple months has been absolutely amazing.
Sarah, how about you?
I mean, I had a little bit more. I had my freshman year as a normal year, and then my first semester of my sophomore year, and then the pandemic hit. So it was nice to get back into it. And there's a some type of, you build rapport with people that you don't over Zoom, because everyone can hear every conversation. It's not like you can have those side conversations and build those connections and talk with people. And so that's really nice to be like, I can meet up with people in the atrium of Knight Hall, which is like one of my favorite places on campus, and chat with people now, which is great. But even like, it was hard coming back. Like, you don't realize how exhausting being in person is after not doing it for a year and a half.
Yeah. How about you, Winter?
I'm one of the students who overextended herself out of excitement. And although my involvement varies in different organizations, at the end of the day, getting to meet people, getting to share our passions it's fantastic. And it's really reassuring because we know the world's kind of going in a good place. And at the end of the day, just like, again, like Erin said, being able to interact with our journalism professors, especially when that's a field that's networking is so important. It's been wonderful to get past a Zoom screen and actually be personable with people who really either got you through COVID or are going to be really influential in the recovery era of getting you back into person and pushing you forward in your career.
Now, I think all three of you have received scholarships. Can you just tell us what it was, the effect that having a scholarship had on you overall, and just tell us what you'd like to say to the people who contributed to those scholarships? Erin, how about you?
Yeah, so coming out of high school, Merrill was my first choice for school. But unfortunately, without a scholarship, I would not have the ability to actually come to college and pursue a career in journalism. And so receiving a scholarship has not only allowed me to stay or to not have to worry about the financial implications or taking out multiple loans and how I'm going to pay them in the future, but it also allows me to work towards my future goals without having to worry about any constraints. So to the donors and scholars, I just want to say just the kindness that you guys have in your hearts is absolutely astronomical. And it's because of donors and scholars and sponsors like you that allows students to have the opportunity to attend college when that previously might not have been possible, like myself. So I don't know if there are any words, that can really express how I feel, but I just want to give you a big thank you.
Sarah, how about you?
So it was mentioned, I've had the opportunity to intern, and I've spent the large chunk of my time in college interning, and I really don't think that I would have been able to dedicate as much time to that in journalism without the financial support that I got from my scholarship. When I remember when applying to schools, a large thing was, is it worth the amount of tuition that I'm going to spend? And I mean, it wasn't a no-brainer for Maryland, because Maryland's journalism program's incredible. And I was in the state, and my parents are from Egypt, and my mom studied journalism in Egypt, and she mentioned that she would have professors that would come study at Maryland and go back and teach them. And just that it not only is it, this amazing financial support, but it's also kind of encouragement that, you know, I'm on the right path, and I've worked so hard thus far that someone is acknowledging it, and I'm getting further assistance that, you know, it makes a difference, and you know, could have been the reason why or why not I was able to pursue a degree in journalism or take that internship and had that chance to, you know, help work on getting together, prepping Susan Page for moderating the vice president debate, which when you said, I was like, what? I can't believe it. But I mean, I just thank you so much to all the donors and sponsors. Like, it's like the amount of support and how much, you know, how much influence and support that you guys provide by these scholarships and these financial support for these students is like unbelievable. And really, you have so much influence on people, and their ability to kind of pursue their dreams and you know, encourage and empower like this new generation of journalists, like, which is incredible. So thank you.
And Winter, how about you?
A huge thank you, both from me and from me for all of your donors. If I'm not someone who has received your scholarship, the impact you make it goes beyond a financial impact. You give people a pat on the back, a boost of support, encouragement, and it's one that, as a freshman, I came in, I stood a little taller because I was like, people believe in me. They're investing in the future, and they're trusting me to carry that investment through. But then I've been able to be here through the journalism school and in my third year, and I have the work to hold myself up higher without that investment. And you gave us the power to hold ourselves up a little straighter, stand a little taller, and go out into the world and make you proud with the encouragement you've given us. And there's not a thank you that can really encompass all of that. So just a giant smile, I guess, would really cover it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. You know, I think we have time for, if anybody has a question for one of our students, we have a couple of minutes here. If there's something you would like to know, do we have the ability to do that, Katie? This is the Alumni Association Zoom page, so it's
Yeah, I think if anyone does have a question, if you want to raise your hand and you can say it, or just feel free to unmute your mic and go ahead and ask.
Okay. Well, I see several of our intrepid former faculty members on here, so you know that these students are pretty amazing. And thank you, Erin and Sarah and Winter. We really appreciate you joining us tonight. And I hope we haven't taken you away from any projects or anything too much. You probably needed a break anyway. So have a good week, and we'll see. And feel free to stay on if you want, but if you need to go, just thank you for your time. It was great to see you. Yeah, yay. I wanted to just talk you through a few things that have been going on campus. It's been, you know, mostly wonderful to be back. The statistic that I'm really holding tight to this week is because of the very strict COVID regulations that the system has put in place, masks in any indoor building, mandated vaccines. Last week, when all the testing we did on campus, we had one COVID case. And it was pretty amazing if you consider all the people, all the faculty, all the staff, all the students that we brought back. To be in a, you know, when school started, immediately everybody was, you know, not as disciplined with the masks and all of that. But to be at that place, I really never thought it would happen. That's not to say there couldn't be little bumps here, but everyone has been so careful and so accommodating and so willing to wear a mask and follow rules and be considerate of each other. I think it says something about what what the University of Maryland is like, because now with the faculty in particular, the first week, they were just, what's this going to be like? Are these students going to care? Are they going to get the rest of us sick? And that hasn't been the case at all. Everyone has followed the rules and shown a lot of respect and caring for each other. So it's, you know, we're almost there. We're almost there, but it's so wonderful to have everyone back. The transition, I won't say it's been seamless, but it's been pretty good. A lot more of our staff are working 1 day a week from home. We know that we can do that. We don't want to do it too much because Merrill College in particular is a very student-facing college. And we don't have a lot of duplicate employees. People all doing the same job. We need to be providing services to our students on a daily basis. So yes, we are doing some remote working, but by and large, people have been really great about coming back to campus and kind of doing a mix of things. You may have noticed that our incoming class this year was smaller than usual. It's in part because we were unable to offer, I think, enough scholarship assistance to students who really needed it. You guys know that because some of you know this because of your own experience, we have a lot more out-of-state students than most of the rest of the colleges. In fact, any of the rest of the colleges. And last year was a tough year for families. And some of our competitors got wise to our fantastic admitted students and started offering things like in-state tuition to out-of-state students. And the schools, the big schools with big endowments, were able to help out a lot of students. So we're hopeful that we're going to have a really great recruiting season. Yesterday was the deadline for best consideration for the next year's freshman class. And Katie can fill you in, but you've been hearing a lot from us about the match. You will be hearing from us about the match that several of our Board of Visitors members have given us to provide scholarships for incoming students. We're trying to spread around a lot more college-sourced money and not rely on the university so much. So there's a big effort underway to provide assistance to incoming students. We've had some amazing hires in the last year. You know, we've also had some retirements that have made me sad. For example, Adrienne Flynn is retiring at the end of December. Those of you who know Adrienne, we'll be having a party late in the afternoon on December 8th to send her off into retirement. So mark your calendars. Bethany Swain has left us, our videography teacher has left us to go and be the chief videographer for the University of Maryland. So she's gone from a faculty to a staff job. And, you know, Karen Denny is moving, who's been our Annapolis bureau chief, is moving into Adrienne's job as the internship and job career coordinator. Karen, you might remember 3 years ago when the murders happened at the Capital Gazette, basically was the den mother to the Capital Gazette employees when they shared our newsroom. And she did an amazing job and showed us what an incredible people manager she is. So we decided she would be just really outstanding as our internship coordinator. We've hired some amazing people, and some of that is because of a little bit of new money via the Howard Center. Some of it is because of these retirements. So for example, Derek Willis came to us from Politico. He's a very, very well-known data editor, and actually had, a number of years ago, had worked for us as an adjunct. So we're glad to have him back. We've hired a young Rutgers doctoral student by the name of Christoph Mergerson to be our, at the moment, he is an assistant, a visiting assistant professor, and we're hoping to transition him to assistant professor. He will be our professor of race in the media. And he's he's teaching our Intro 200 class, and in the spring he'll be teaching media law. You will enjoy meeting him. Nathan Stevens joined us from the University of Kentucky to teach journalism production classes. In addition to being an outstanding TV production manager, Nathan is a nationally known game designer. So he is, I think, going to help us out with some campus projects and to help us get more involved with computer science and kind of get in the interactivity business. And he's just a wonderful addition to Tawes Hall. Tom Rosensteele left American Press Institute to join us as a visiting professor, and he's our visiting professor for the future of news. And those of you who know Tom know he's absolutely brilliant. He's a former journalist. He was the media critic for the LA Times for a long time. He's written 3 novels, and his 4th one is about to come out. And he knows more about the future of journalism than just about anybody I can think of. And we were so grateful that he wanted to make a transition into academia. He said, you know, before I retire, I've always wanted to try teaching. So we're very blessed to have him on the faculty. Allison Burns was one of our adjuncts. Then she came to our PhD program. Then we hired her to run our Media, Self, and Society Scholars program. But Allison has now transitioned to our professional track faculty as a broadcast professor, teaching a lot of our broadcast writing classes in particular. Who am I missing? Today, we announced the hiring of 3 more people. First off, one of the projects we were working on over the summer called Printing Hate, which I will talk about in a minute. We had a guest professional, Ron Harris, who is an adjunct professor and runs the news lab at Howard University. Ron worked with us over the summer, and we announced this week that he will be taking Karen Denny's place in the Annapolis Bureau. And we're very, very excited. At Howard, he essentially ran their capstone news lab. So we're grateful he's coming. Professor Rob Wells will be coming back to Maryland. Rob worked as an adjunct for us, then got a PhD. He spent the last 6 years at the University of Arkansas, where he is an associate professor, and he wanted to come back to Maryland. And so for the coming, he'll be starting in January, and he will, I think in the spring, he'll be teaching 2 of our 201 sections. That's the basic reporting class. And then we will be working him into capstones. Some of you might remember that before he left, the same semester he was getting a PhD, finishing his PhD, his students in his capstone class did an investigation on a nursing home company in the Baltimore area. They discovered some fraudulent practices and dumping of Medicaid patients. His student's story appeared. The Attorney General started investigating that same week, and the woman who owned that series of nursing homes went to jail. So you don't often, as a student journalist, be able to say, I helped shut down a fraudulent, corrupt nursing home and send the owner to jail. But Rob is coming back. And then we've created a new staff position for our diversity, equity, and inclusion coordinator. President Pines has made it very clear that he wants us to do more in orienting our new faculty, staff, and students to create more programs that show inclusivity. You know, Maryland, all things considered, compared to most universities, is pretty racially diverse. It's always rated very high as far as being LGBTQ friendly. But we're making a big push toward more inclusivity. And so we've hired a young man by the name of Erin Guillermo Vogel. I think he's so excited. I offered him the job yesterday and he said, well, I could be there tomorrow. I said, well, we need some time to do some paperwork. So he will be starting on Monday, I think. And we're very, very lucky to have him. He just got his master's degree in higher education administration and diversity, equity, and inclusion at George Washington University. And before that, he worked out of LA for a program called Posse, which would go to various high schools around the country and take groups of students from the same high school and then place them at good universities, and they would work together with their posses. And the idea being that they would feel more comfortable, and a lot of them were students of color, but the idea was that they would go with their own group that they already knew, and that their transition to higher education would be easier. He's a very interesting young man. So I probably have forgotten somebody, but it's been busy, and we are truly blessed that we're able to do that. I'm going to quickly go through a couple of other things because I hope you guys have a couple of questions. Let's see, the Howard Center. We think we are this close to getting the Howard Center grant renewed, which would be absolutely amazing. The relationship with the Scripps Howard Foundation has been terrific. One of the big things they've done, besides helping pay for some amazing people on our faculty, is we've been working with them to provide fellowships for graduates. And it's having an impact. Several of our master's graduates have gone to work for nonprofits, and Scripps Howard, the Scripps Howard Foundation has paid half of the starting salaries for a year and helped get those students started. They've done in the last year a project on OSHA and safety violations during the pandemic. They did a project that appeared in USA Today about college football deaths. That was absolutely amazing. And when you look at the picture there and see all those mugshots of young men who died playing college football, it just takes your breath away. A wonderful project on homelessness that we did during the pandemic. As you might imagine, the pandemic caused new and crazy and interesting and horrible issues related to homelessness. There was a man that our students, one day before the pandemic, we closed up shop in Maryland. We had a student checking, I can't remember, I think his name was Ken Schultz, a man who had been arrested 97 times and charged with a crime for being homeless. And one of our students, Ryan Little, tracked him down. I think Ryan was down in Florida and interviewed this guy, did the story. And the John Oliver show this weekend, they called Kathy Best, our Howard Center director, last week and said, we want to feature your story and give you credit. And can you help us track this guy down? Because we want to feature him in a story about homelessness and how it's a crime to be homeless in many locations. And I think when they checked with him last week, he'd been arrested something like 19 more times. It's just crazy. But anyway, we'll try to find a link to the John Oliver piece, which was really kind of a kick. And then, of course, the project we're doing right now called Printing Hate. Every Monday and Thursday, we are turning out additional stories. This was kind of kicked off because Professor Deneen Brown had been working on a project that you might have seen documentaries on PBS about the Tulsa race riots and other racial violence, mostly between about 1870 and 1960. And the faculty started talking, and in investigating this, we realized that newspapers played a really massive role in promoting racial violence. So the stories are focused on the role the newspaper industry played in promoting racial violence, not just in the South, but everywhere. You're going to be reading about a few incidents that happened in Maryland. So that stories from that project have been picked up all over the country as well, particularly in the Black press. And we're very, very proud of that project. And one of the things the Scripps Howard money allowed us to do over the summer was we hired some of our students to work as summer interns. We hired 4 Black guest professionals to serve to complement our editing staff and our faculty. And we invited students from, I think it was 6 HBCUs. I think there were 8 students from 6 universities, and they came and worked side by side virtually with our students on these projects. And one thing we are hoping that this does is it's given us a lead on recruiting some really good master's students. I think they were all undergraduates. So by seeing these, sophomores and juniors, we now have a pathway to recruit a more diverse master's class, and we're very excited about that. So that was the Howard Center. We have a new master's in data journalism that we're teaching in conjunction with the iSchool. Half the classes will be in journalism, half of them will be at the iSchool in data science. And this program, this degree will be available entirely online. So that opens our degree. And it's really, at the moment, the only place in the country where you can do this at a public university. And anyone, anywhere can get this master's in data journalism. We have, and if you come to Capitol Hill, I hope security subsides a little bit. We have relocated our DC bureau. Our lease ran out in the Reagan building, and the university leasing folks found us a wonderful place in the United Methodist building, which is on one of those wedge streets, right between the Supreme Court and the Hart Senate office building. So you walk out the front door and the Capitol is right in front of you, the Supreme Court is on your left, and the Senate office buildings are on your right. And our office is in there. Our student newsroom overlooks the Supreme Court. It's pretty cool. It's an old congressional apartment building, so you can imagine the shenanigans that happened in there over the years. But the United Methodist Church has turned that into an office building for nonprofits. So we're really excited about that space. You actually saw it in the video, the deep red walls. That was the new downtown bureau, and I hope that our Board of Visitors meeting can meet there in the spring, because it's pretty funky to be able to, walk into your office building, look out the window, and see the Supreme Court, and we're excited about that. I'm just going to run down a couple of really exciting things about our alumni. We had some amazing achievements by alumni in the last few months. And I'm not going to name all of them, but here's what I know. Megha Rajaplana, who graduated in 2008, worked for BuzzFeed News. She won a Pulitzer Prize for international reporting for reporting on the mass detention of Muslims in China. That is amazing. Nora Eckert, who graduated in the class of 2019, and Chris Weaver from the class of 2008, worked for the Wall Street Journal, and they were Pulitzer finalists for a story on how nursing home residents were hit hard by the pandemic. Darcy Costello from the class of 2016 works for the Louisville Courier-Journal. She was a Pulitzer finalist in both breaking news reporting and public service reporting for reporting that contradicted police narratives about the killing of Breonna Taylor. And Lyle Kendrick from the class of 2014, he works for Vice. He won a Peabody Award for producing Vice on Showtime's Losing Ground, which shed light on a little known type of ownership known as heirs property, which leaves African Americans especially vulnerable to losing their property. We are just so amazed that these students who really graduated mostly in the last 15 years just showed what Merrill College students are made of. And we're so unbelievably proud of them. We were in awe when those awards came out. So I talked really fast because Katie told me I had to get all of this addressed. I just want to see Maureen Beasley, you joined us. Hello, it's so nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. Does anyone have any questions? Please just unmute yourself and chime in and ask me whatever you like. What did I forget to tell you? Anyone?
Lucy, what's the status of UMTV and the student broadcasts? How did you deal with that over the pandemic? And what are plans for the future? You know, at one point we were talking about adding, that Knight Hall is supposed to be a U-shaped building. And are there any thoughts or plans that we need to build that a new section there?
Well, last question first. At the moment, there are no plans for doing that, although they will be announcing, I'm sure, a new capital campaign any day now, because that's what they do. And we will certainly consider that, but we're actually quite pleased with the way Taws Hall has been working. Pretty much everybody went home. And in the spring of 2020, using some help, Mel Coffey, who replaced Sue, really worked hard to teach our students how to do a newscast remotely from home. It was an amazing effort. And he got some assistance from a former colleague at the University of Kentucky by the name of Nathan Stevens. So when I saw what a brilliant job they did, of course, we hired Nathan Stevens. But last year, about 15% of our classes were actually taught in Knight Hall and in Taws Hall. And the one class that we made a point of continuing in the fall of 2020 and the spring of 2021, we did CNS, the capstone broadcast class, and Cindy Wright's production class. We did in person. And I went over there. I'd never been in Taws Hall so often. I was so worried about them being in person, but every time I went over there, everybody had their mask on, and they did an absolutely amazing job. Nobody got sick, and they were really, really wonderful. Adding Nathan to the faculty is going to allow us to do some more creative production and allow some additional classes, I think, to use those facilities. And we're certainly not downgrading anything. In fact, we're working with the Povich Center and Mark Hyman, who replaced George Solomon at the Povich Center. He's working on trying to get our our sports students doing more frequent sports broadcasts as part of the CNN broadcast. And I think I'm really optimistic. I think they showed that it certainly taught students how to do what everybody else was doing, which was produce a newscast from home. They learned incredible skills. We didn't just give up. We just plowed through and did some really creative things. And I really think that's going to help some of those students get jobs.
Lucy?
Yes.
I'd like to raise something. I know we're interested in seeing what Yale has just done in pointing out its contact with slavery and trying to make up to what was the bad old system in which Blacks were suppressed. Due to the wonderful Howard Center work and also the series on lynching that is so important. I wonder if the college has other things in mind that will show the relationship maybe of the campus to slavery or to the surrounding community, the Lakeland area of College Park.
Well, as you know, Maureen, we cover, we never do, we try very hard not to cover the same things the Diamondback covers. So we don't do a laser focus on campus. However, we have included campus when it's been part of a greater story. So for example, the USA Today piece on football deaths, we portion of that story related to the death of Jordan McNair. There's certainly been conversation on campus about it's called the Lakeville block, right? The Lakeville area.
Lakeland.
Lakeview or Lakeville, right?
Lakeland, I think.
Lakeland, okay. It was a neighborhood kind of north of campus and on the east side of Route 1, if I remember right. We are certainly looking for opportunities, but are we putting a laser focus on campus? No. Would we do some sidebars on campus? I think that's we probably would as part of a greater project, but we've always been really sensitive about not replacing the Diamondback. But there are some things that happened on campus, and you'll I don't know if you've noticed, Maureen, but yesterday they dedicated the new dining hall and they called it Tahanitsi Hall, which is Algonquin for eats here or something like that. That's the first new dining hall in 50 years. So there have been a number of renamings. And then every time the university has a public event like commencement, there is what they call I think they call it the land statement, and a student comes on a video and they show it and they say, "Welcome to the University of Maryland. You are on land that was once owned by the Piscataway tribes, and this is what happened. And we recognize that this tribe was displaced, and it's a very interesting statement. I've been to a number of public events where they have played that video or videos like it. So does that kind of answer your question, Maureen?
Thank you.
Okay. Now, David Steele, I'm going to put you on the spot. You came back and you're teaching for us now. Yeah?
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for first inviting me to this. I feel really privileged to sort of be in on this discussion at this level for the first time, and this is all going to be very new to me. As I told Mark Hyman when the Povich Advisory Board all spoke together a few weeks ago. Yes, we're in this spring. I'll be teaching a class that's in large part was inspired by what Kevin Blackstone has done in the past. It'll revolve around sports and activism, protest. Its connection to larger society. We're still in the process of putting all the pieces together for that, but this will be my first time, and I'm just so honored and flattered that Mark invited me to be a part of this and to give back in this way to the university and to the program. So I thank you and thank the Merrill and thank the Povich Center for having me be a part of all this.
Well, you were very well poised to teach that subject because I don't know if those of you remember last year, David and it was Tommy Smith, right? You wrote
Correct.
the book about the '68 Olympic protest and spoke to our students. And I think you were the inaugural, your book was the inaugural reading club book for our high school student program, where we're sort of having a reading club, spreading books out that we think will be of interest to high school kids to get them interested in sports journalism. And last year, David's book was the first one we had the high school students read.
Yes, it was. Silent Gesture.
Silent Gesture.
I co-authored the Tommy Smith's autobiography, and that was the book, and we spoke to
Oh,
the students at
fun.
Wise High School, and this year's the second year of it, and it's expanded even larger, from what I understand, to an even bigger group of students here in Prince George's County. So it's a great tradition. I'm glad that I was in on the ground floor of it. It's a great thing to be a part of.
I'll just add to that. It's expanded to, I believe, 460 students will be participating in the Povich Center Book Club this fall. They're reading, I'm blanking on the name of the book, but it's the story of Georgetown coach John Thompson.
Yeah.
I blank on the actual name of it.
That is the name of the book. Yeah.
Yep. And we were fortunate. The Undefeated is actually sponsoring that for the Povich Center this fall. So we're very grateful for their support. And Jesse Washington, who writes for the Undefeated, helped write that book. So he's going to be part of the book club. So we're very excited to have that going on.
You know, and for those, I didn't mention it, the Povich Symposium is going to be going on in 2 weeks, Katie? From yes,
Yes, 2 weeks from tonight.
2 weeks from tonight.
Yeah.
And the subject is going to be free agency and the Curt Flood case. And among the speakers, Mark told the college assembly today, he's got Joe Torre and Tim McCarver is among his panelists, along with a whole host of fascinating people. I don't know how he's going to get everybody in there, but there will be 2 separate panels. And of course, the Curt Flood case is 50 years ago and really changed baseball forever. And actually, I think it changed a lot of other sports too, and the way professional athletes got more autonomy over their playing careers. So we're looking forward to that. Anyone else? Well, I am so grateful for you joining us tonight. We appreciate your support. It was so good to see old friends and some of our other supporters. Lucy Miller, hello, how are you? One of our loyal fundraisers from New York. And I hope to see you in person again real soon. Anyway, thank you, and have a really good evening, and come back and join us again. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.